To D.C. today, Democrats waltzed into work wearing costumes.
Congressman, can you explain what you're wearing?
I just came to thank James Comer for taking all of our intelligence and using it in the committee. Maybe he can come see the technology in our grocery stores. Thank you.
Congressman, do you think his behavior is kind of immature?
Democrats slapping on Putin masks. There must be a Hunter Biden hearing. Yeah, there was, except Hunter didn't show. After pretending he wanted to testify under the bright lights, Hunter got stage fright. But his former business partners didn't.
Should I allow Hunter to give his opening statement first?
Well, doesn't appear Mr. Biden showed up for his public hearing, so we'll recognize you, Mr. Bobulinski.
Tony Bobulinski's been waiting for this moment for 4 years. He came out swinging in his opening statement, leaving the Democrats rattled.
Rep. Dan Goldman and Jamie Raskin, both lawyers, and Mr. Goldman, a former prosecutor with the SDNY from New York, will continue to lie today in this hearing and then go straight to the media to tell more lies. Hunter Biden's defense attorney, Abby Lowell, weaponizes letters to Congress to try to smear my name.
Mr. Chairman, proceed. I apologize for the disruption.
Am I supposed to say it's my time, Mr. Raskin?
Yeah.
An eyewitness with impeccable credentials, former naval officer, highly educated, multiple security clearances, legitimate businessman, Tony Bobulinski, the original whistleblower, was under oath for the first time in public. And he called the Biden family liars.
The American people must hear it. You're presented here today with two narratives in this investigation. A false one being pushed by Joe Biden, a serial liar and fabulous, now under this impeachment investigation for public corruption. It is clear to me that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by the Biden family. Joe Biden was more than a participant in and a beneficiary of his family's business. He was an active, aware enabler who met with business associates such as myself to further the business. I ask this big question. If there's no evidence of corruption here today, if Joe's conduct and the conduct of his family were fully legal and proper, then why are they so dishonest about it? Not just slight misrepresentations of fact, but deep untruths about the entire corrupt enterprise.
Bobulinski met with Joe Biden twice, confirmed he was the big guy who called the shots. Joe Biden was for sale. The family desperately needed cash. Hunter shook them down with his dad in the room, got the cash, and then cut Tony out.
Hunter Biden represents, he's a governance expert. That's why Burisma put him on the board. Well, he obviously can't do basic math. The board of Oneida Holdings had 7 votes. Each one of them, Hunter, Jim Biden, James Gillian, and Rob Walker, had a single vote. I had 3 votes. I have a master's degree in electrical and nuclear engineering. I think I can do math. I had 3, they had 4. They controlled Oneida Holdings. So Hunter Biden's representations that I was trying to take the business from them or I didn't know is all a sham and a misrepresentation. He wanted money in his account instantly, and that's why he shook down the Chinese, and they were willing to send him that $5 million because they viewed it as a bribe to the Biden family.
It wasn't just China. The Biden family was tangled up with the Russians. We know about the Russian billionaire who had dinner with Joe and Hunter, wired him millions, and then left Biden off the sanctions list. But it was much bigger than that. The Biden family was brokering Russia-Chinese energy deals right under the FBI's noses.
Chairman Yi was dropping $50 million of cash for penthouses in Manhattan. Who you should be asking all these questions are the Department of Justice, the SDNY, the FBI, because they have troves of evidence that back up what was going on. This involved the Chinese Communist Party. They were doing a transaction with Rosneft, which was a Russian-sanctioned, U.S.-sanctioned company at the time, and the Biden family was right front and center in the middle of it.
Tony B. has troves of evidence linking the Biden clan to international criminal activity. And the FBI never conducted a follow-up interview after he went public 4 years ago. The Treasury Department flagged 150 suspicious activity reports. No action. Money was flowing from the Red Chinese right to Joe Biden's personal checking account.
On August 4th, $100,000 is wired into Owasco PC from CEFC Infrastructure. On August 14th, there is $150,000 that is transferred from Owasco PC which is controlled by Hunter Biden, to Lion Hall Group, which is controlled by James Biden. We have the deposit reference into Sarah Jones Biden's account on the same day she withdrew it from Lion Hall. On September 3rd, 2007, from Sarah Biden's own personal account, there is a check that is written to Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., the President of the United States today, for $40,000, signed loan repayment. A loan repayment, by the way, that Joe Biden's own personal accountant, Mr. Eric Schwerin, has no record for.
You heard that right? Joe Biden's own accountant testified under oath that there was no record that this was a loan repayment. It was a bribe from China. Hunter Biden was asked during his deposition, how many times did you pay for your father's household expenses? Over 100? And Hunter Biden said, I don't know. $24 million in foreign wires to the Bidens. $1.5 million missing in cash. At least 2 missing diamonds. And the investigation just started. And it's being stonewalled at the highest levels. Democrats had a hard time facing the facts today.
Quote, 10% held by H for the big guy, question mark. You remember that, right?
The infamous email with the big guy? Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Did anyone ever respond to that email?
Yes, they did, numerous times.
Sorry.
Hunter Biden himself did.
Excuse me. You're right.
Well, no, I think that's important because
Sir,
Hunter
did
Biden
anyone
has
ever
claimed that he didn't
Can you answer my
respond to it,
questions?
and he responded to it, I believe,
You're just
3
going to
times.
filibuster. I reclaim my time that's running out.
We're back to a hearing where no evidence is being provided of any sort of wrongdoing by the president. But I want to go back.
That's a
Mr.
blatant
Bobulinski,
lie.
Actually, it's my time, sir.
What you stated.
I did not call the
what was
FBI
stated
agents
right before
liars.
that was,
I
first
said
of all,
they
I
misstated
said that I'm
or made
speaking, and I did
mistakes.
not ask you a question.
So this was the first time an actual eyewitness to the Biden enterprise testified publicly. And the Democrats weren't prepared.
Did you
deal-
witness the president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime do you have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it? Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir?
You
Specifically.
wait, you asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption
Excuse me,
statutes.
sir. Excuse me,
Mara.
sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crimes.
Fannie charged Trump with RICO in Georgia, AOC. So if RICO's not a crime, I guess Trump's fine. But honestly, Biden flies his son around the world to cut deals, invites his son's partners to the White House, has phone calls and meetings with them, drops sanctions on them, greases regs for them, gets their kids into colleges, and he gets his entire extended family, from sons, brothers to grandkids, paid millions. Cars, cash, diamonds, expensive scotch. And he uses an alias. Joe Biden uses an alias. They use burner phones to talk. Biden's donors paid his family's back taxes. Could Don Jr. stiff the IRS and his dad's donors square it up before an election? Come on. Investigators have delivered eyewitness testimony, bank records, mountains of circumstantial evidence, plus motive, physical evidence, digital communications, photographs, voicemails. Jesse Jr. could prosecute this case.
Do you believe he should be impeached?
I do.
Okay, and you believe that because you believe Chairman Comer has proven that he committed a high crime and misdemeanor?
No, because I know that he committed high crimes and misdemeanors.
Okay.
I was involved and saw them happen.
The Democrats say there's no evidence. The media reports there's no evidence, and the 4-year cover-up continues. So looking at the calendar, I don't see the committee moving towards an official impeachment this year. I just don't. Personally, I believe there was sufficient evidence to start impeachment last year, but that's just me. Now the committee's up against a political clock. Summer recess, conventions, and the politicians, they have to campaign for re-elections, so they're not going to be in Washington for impeachment hearings. And an impeachment in October could be silly with weeks before an election. So the committee's going to keep grinding. We're still expecting credit card records from multiple banks, and the offshore accounts, which the IRS whistleblowers confirm exist, are being protected by the DOJ. But if Trump wins and finds Biden's offshore accounts, I don't care what Robert Hur says, you're going to see a sympathetic elderly man with a hazy memory on trial. If Biden wins re-election and the Republicans keep the House, then they'll have time for impeachment. This year, though, It's more about what the American people believe and how it impacts their vote. Everyone knows Biden's corrupt. We just have to vote him out. Let's bring in entrepreneur and the original Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Jordan, when you watch hearings like this and see the evidence and you see the testimony and people don't buy it, what does that tell you?
It tells me that the media right now is just so utterly corrupt because, listen, I watched it, and by the way, I was laughing out loud at a lot of this stuff, like AOC with not knowing that, RICO is a crime. Like you can't make this stuff up, right? But the fact that it's being reported on mainstream media is like there's no there, nothing is happening, is nonsensical. I mean, there's overwhelming evidence. Listen, they use words like plausible deniability. That's a cover story in layman's terms. And you don't have 27 shell accounts and money moving back and forth through all these accounts. I know a little bit, unfortunately, about money laundering, and that's exactly what you do when you launder money, right? And then it comes back, and then it eventually makes some back to President Biden. But here's the thing. Even if it doesn't go back to Biden, it's still just as much of a crime. It includes the family, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, bribery charges. If you bribe the family, it's on him. And, I just don't understand, really. It makes no sense to me how the media could be so complicit in all this. But, it makes me long for the days back when I was a kid. I thought the media was a lot fairer back then. I don't know what's happened. It's insane.
Well, you're not that old, Jordan. Don't act like that. The diamonds that are missing, the offshore accounts that are being blocked, the Porsches that are being driven home after dinners with billionaires, and the shell companies, I think they're counting 10 shell companies. This is literally how you money launder, is it not? You know about this.
Listen, there is no reason for all these different shell companies. You don't move money from, China into, the British Virgin Islands into Liechtenstein. You don't do that. There's no reason for it. From company to, if the money was legit, it would go from the company to Hunter Biden or to that holding company in the United States and be distributed accordingly. There's no other reason for that. And it's one of these cases where, in the end of the day, the cover-up is worse than the crime. It's almost like the cover-up is what gets you in trouble because it's just so guilty looking, so obvious what's going on. If they just had wired the money, they could say, well, I did consulting. Now, he didn't actually do any consulting. He didn't offer any services, so to speak. So they wouldn't have an excuse there either. But the fact that they went through all this effort to conceal, it tips their hand. You know what's going on.
And even if he was consulting, as he say he was, it's illegal. You can't do international business consulting without being registered as a foreign agent. And he was a foreign agent for his father while he was vice president.
Right. Right. I think he's safe there, Jesse, because I don't think he did any consulting. Do you think he actually did any consulting?
That would be the cover story. Even with the cover story, it's still illegal. Their cover story is illegal.
Exactly. That's the irony. The cover story itself is illegal. Even though the guy didn't lift his finger for anything except my daddy's president, and he can help you get things done.
No, you can't make your cover story a crime. But, hey, Hunter's the smartest guy Joe knows. He must not know a lot of people.
Exactly.
All right. Belfort.
And the most ethical.
Belfort, you know about that.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. You too, my friend.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
It's not about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.